Hey, I tell you what, the Shooters Pod is the place. If you want NBL news, great banter, health tips, behind the scenes conversations about the NBL, whether it's from the media side or the players side, this is the place to be.
All right, we're finally back. Apologies for the, a bit of delay, but I'm just excited just to talk to this man again because, we all know he's been the man of the moment. It's not even hyping you up. You know how typically if you have a co-host, you might be like, I'm going to hype him up, but you have literally been in the spotlight everywhere. I saw you on the Today Show. I saw you everywhere. I've literally seen you everywhere. So it's good to see you on this Riverside recording, though. How has everything been? It must be just crazy. I don't know where you start, but feel free to take it wherever you want.
Well, this is an important episode for me. And the reason it's important is I have to prove to the people, and when I mean people, I mean Darren and my friends, that it hasn't gone to my head. The head's not too big, the ego's not too crazy, that I'm still the same Jack. I've received quite a lot of love for getting some buckets.
Getting some buckets, getting some trophies, getting some medals, getting bits of everything. But no, it's true. It's just been cool. It's funny. What has it been? 2 weeks? 2 weeks?
Yep. Been about almost, it's about 1.5 weeks. So we're getting there Thursday. It would be 2 weeks on Sunday.
So talk us, what have you even been doing between that? Have you been trying? I know you just said you've been getting back into working out the last few days and all that stuff, but was there some down days? I'm sure there was some down days during the celebrations, but what's the actual timeline been like?
Well, I'll break you down what it's like when you win a championship for the Tasmania JackJumpers. So we get the win on Sunday. The part that I didn't realize as a first-time winner is you are at the stadium for a long time. You are taking photos, media wants you. You're kind of doing a lot of stuff. So we were probably, once the ceremony was done, we were at the stadium for like 2.5 hours. Just taking care of business. It's kind of like you're having little chats, but a lot of it's media work. A lot of it's kind of work. Not the most enjoyable thing in the whole world. And then we get outside. We have a bus waiting for us. We all rush back to the hotel, have a shower, get changed. And then we went to like a little private bar that we kind of hung at all night. And then we jumped on a flight the next morning at about 8 a.m. So we left the airport at 6 a.m. Not the hotel. Not a lot of sleep was done by anyone. I had as you were saying earlier, I had an interview on the Today Show on no sleep at 7 a.m. So I think I did an all right job of pulling myself together. We got back, took a 2-3 hour nap, and then we drove straight to kind of like we had almost our parade type of thing, which was held at My State Bank Arena. That place was popping. There was 7,500 people there. That was crazy. So we got up there, we spoke a little bit, and then kind of what happened then? Then we all met. Then we all met at Magnay's house, and we actually, a bunch of us, I'd say about 10 out of the 12 or 13, 14 guys got matching tattoos.
Jeez.
So I'll send you a photo that you can put up. So we all got little ant. We got like the ant emoji. So we all got little ants tattooed all over us. Like I got one on my foot. A couple of the boys got it on their arms, hands, kind of different places. Tuesday, rest day. Everyone was exhausted. Wednesday, we had like our Wacky Wednesday, which is like everyone kind of dresses up. Everyone dresses up and kind of we just had all day. We went on a boat, hired out a pub, and just kind of all hung out as a team, just the players all day. So we were kind of there from 10 a.m. to 12 a.m. The next day, and then we were all scattering off home. And then kind of Thursday, Fridays, kind of pack up, get the house stuff sorted. We had our awards MVP dinner Friday night, and pretty much everyone was out of there Saturday. On that Tuesday was also a bunch of exit interviews, meetings. So kind of we went in, and most of us were in there for 3-4 hours, kind of doing exit meetings, talking to the coaches, talking to the big bosses, talking to physios, weight rooms, things we can improve on, what they thought we did well. So it's kind of like the business meeting, where can we improve as a club? And that's kind of like what the week looked like. Flew to Adelaide on Saturday, relaxed on Sunday, and was straight back into training on Monday. So a nice week, kind of off, but kind of not, into taking this week slow, but back in the weight room every day, and won't touch a basketball this week. So I'll take 2 weeks fully off basketball, but kind of lifting every day for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then we'll ramp it back up next week.
Back on the grind. There's a lot to unpack there. Firstly, I was just like, well, I found it funny how quickly you guys popped back up in Tasmania. Like I was talking to Jess, and then Jess was because like it's kind of good. Like I'm obviously in the bubble, and I don't know some things, but some things I do know. And when Jess asks questions like, "Oh, how long are they in Melbourne for? Like, what do they actually do now?" And I'm just like, I don't know. I guess they'd go back to the hotel, they'd celebrate a bit, they'd go back to Tassie pretty quick. But you guys were literally, there was social media posts like on like 9 a.m. the next morning of you guys arriving. And I'm just like, damn, like that's a tight turnaround. So it was quite funny because it's just like, it would be hard because you obviously want to celebrate, but you're not at home with like anyone's purpose. You're away. But yeah, it's just that weird dynamic of like, how much do you want to be there and how much do you want to go home? But, and also the ant tattoos. I was going to ask, can I ask who didn't get them? Out of was it all the because I was thinking if I was in that situation I reckon I'd be a bit I reckon I'd be like not sure about it, although you never know, so
you never know. Well, it's definitely of course, no pressure. The people that didn't I think was Majuk Dang, Jared Bairstow, Clint Steinel and Far were the ones that didn't, and then everyone, and then everyone else did. Anthony Dribic, shout out to him, first ever tattoo, and will probably be the only one. To be fair, these ants are tiny, like the size of your fingernail kind of thing, and they're adorable.
No, I love it because I always think I'm not a tattoo man, as you might have guessed or seen, but I've always thought if you do get tattoos, like what are they going to be about? And the first thing I go to is something meaningful. So what better way to get that? I can imagine all your crazy fans like getting the same tattoo now after they see this, but that's cool. The insight's cool.
Yeah, definitely. We definitely will at the MVP night. Definitely was pulled out a couple tattoos. Fans came with some JackJumpers 20, championship tattoos that we saw. So that was a great honor, and the bodies are tatted up, ready to go.
Fans are so funny. I have to appreciate their dedication and passion towards you guys. I was going to ask, can we just jump into the game and like what those moments of realization, like do you recall the exact moment when you realized it was done? Because as a fan, like watching, you're kind of like, if there's 2 minutes on the clock, you guys up by whatever it is. In my head, I'm like, oh wait, it could be done, or it might be 50 seconds, or it might be 30, or it could be when the buzzer goes. Like, what type of person are you when you realize that game's done?
Okay, well, sorry, this is a PG episode, podcast, but I have to swear for this part because I just have to, because with 4 minutes to go in that game 5, the tides were starting to turn. Melbourne had been leading the whole game, and we had made that push, and I think we might have taken the lead for the first time with 4 minutes to go. And I'll tell you what, when I was out on that court, every single time one of us scored, or we got a defensive rebound, all that went through my head was, holy fuck, we might actually win this. And so when I tell you there's an internal dialogue in those last 4 minutes that was screaming at me, holy fuck, holy shit, we might actually win this. We might actually win this. And so that was on repeat every single time something good happened for us on either end. So I remember Milton Doyle shooting that little floater that like kind of banked off the backboard. Yeah, stuck off the backboard and rolled in. Milton Doyle with the layup out of the pick and roll. Me with my post move. That was exactly what was going on in my head. I was trying to stay cool, calm, collected. And then I remember like at that point, I was slowly losing composure of the whole thing. So when Chris Goulding hit that crazy fadeaway 3 off the backboard, it was a little voice. I'm telling you, this little voice that inside that was like, it was like a 3-year-old. So it just started begging in my head, like, please let us win this. Like, how did you make that? Come on, just please let us win this. What are you doing? Like, how did that one go in? And then obviously, it goes both ways and we throw the ball out. Chris Goulding taps it out and Delhi catches the ball. And I was back at like kind of like semi just there, and he shoots it over me. And I remember just turning around with the most fear in my heart I've ever had in my entire life. And it kind of like, went off the side. And then I think the crazy thing is, because I've watched everyone's reactions quite a few times, is like it takes everyone like a second or two after the buzzer goes. to like start moving, to be like, wait a minute. Oh my God. And so like that same voice for me was like, holy crap, have we won? Let me check. Oh my God, we won. And then you run, and then we ran. And I think for me, the whole time it was really like, holy crap. What just happened? How did we win? What just happened? How did we win? Holy crap, did we actually win? Oh my God, we just actually won. So it was like, Beth's been making fun of me for the last week because the face I made out there was one she's never seen before. The double hands up, the semi-cry, scream, surprise, kind of all of it. So for me, the majority of feeling from the last 4 minutes to even probably 5 minutes to even a week later has been almost disbelief.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like just hearing you talk about it is funny because like I can only go from what my perspective was, and then those last buckets, as you mentioned, I remember from my angle, I was on the, I don't know which, I think I was on the baseline at this point where I could see your bench diagonal. So I could see the Milton Doyle layup, and then I could see the reaction of it was specifically Drimmick and Majuk Deng, and they were just like you could tell it was the same reaction. It was just like, holy shit, like, oh, okay, we've actually almost got this. But then their business hat went on. They're just like, no, I'm going to start yelling out instructions. Like, I'm going to actually, we have to help and switch on still. It's very funny because like basketball and sport is just something that makes everyone like act like kids sometimes, and it's great. That's why it's great. But and of course the emotions after the buzzer, like it's so good. Even I went back and like just watched the commentary and watched that version of it, and it's crazy. Like anyone that hasn't watched, anyone's at the game, great, but anyone that hasn't actually watched the broadcast, just because you get a different appreciation of it, it's super cool, and I just get chills like watching it. It doesn't matter how many times you watch it, but sports special, and it's always one of the best days, so it's very, very cool.
Yeah, I think there's something special too in basketball when it comes down to a game 5 or a must win for both teams, because a lot of times it doesn't happen. Like in the NBA, you got best of 7, and then you go footy, AFL, it is best of 1. The winner advances, and you got some smaller things in there where sometimes they have some chances and stuff. But the beauty of must win basketball brings out a different level of emotions for the players, the coaches, everyone in the arena, the commentators, and then everyone viewing it. There's just this different level that you can't really explain unless you're kind of passionate about it. You've been following it and you're part of it. And there was definitely a lot of emotions going around game 5.
And I got to talk about I got to throw some specific moments of celebration to you because I saw some behind the scenes footage. I saw some cameras in the rooms. I ducked off. I almost ducked off too early because it's that borderline, like, am I meant to go back into the locker room? Like, am I allowed type of thing? And then I was bloody starving and my family was there. So I'm like, I'm going to get some food.
Nice.
So priorities. But I did see some behind the scenes footage. So I have to ask about some few things. Firstly, super cool to see you embrace Beth and your loved ones, and that was really cool just to see that happen. Nice to meet Beth as well for the first time. That was cool in amongst the absolute chaos. Her brother as well, I think he was very passionate. Loved the podcast. I was like, it's not. I was funny actually. I might as well talk about this now because he was during. You might have been up on stage, or Dave, or someone. Our CEO Dave. And then he came up to me. He's just like, oh, shoot his pod. And he was talking quite loud. And I'm like, stop it. Like, I don't want the attention right now. Like, it's not about me. Get away from me. And then he laughed. He's like, oh, I can tell you don't like the spotlight. I'll leave you alone. I'm like, good man. I found that very funny.
Nice. Shout out to John Hefty right there,
Absolutely. Good man. No, a few celebrations. So the locker room and the Jackie song. There was a few moments where that came up again. Farb, I think, led the charge at the end one. That was cool. I used that. I did a little recap of the whole thing, so that was cool. But I have to ask about Big Scotty taking his shirt off and the hammer. Although, what is it, a hammer, an axe or something? Can you please explain what the hell is going on there? Because I love it, and I also am just like, there's some story about this I need to hear.
Well, I guess it's got to be shared now, huh? So we kind of had a big mantra for our season was pound the rock. That age-old saying, you got to hit it 1,000 times. You never know when it's going to crack. Every pound looks like it's doing nothing, but on that 1,001, it's going to break open, and you're going to find that gold. And so for us this season, we would, at the end of wins, Scott would give someone the hammer, who he thought deserved it, who had earned it, who had, embodied kind of pounding the rock all week long and in the game and all of that. And so we started with that. And, then as the season unfolds, little nuances of team jokes and the team's personalities kind of mold together. So we gave it out the first week and everyone kind of got a big cheer in. And then the second week, we give it out to Jared Bairstow, and he lifts it up in the air. So he lifts it up. And so all of a sudden, from that week on, whoever got it had to raise the rock. Raise the hammer, raise the hammer. So everyone would go crazy and would lift the hammer. And then Anthony Drimmick got given it at Adelaide 36 an away game, probably 5 or 6 games in. And he wasn't wearing a shirt at the time. And so he raised the hammer. And then from then on, you weren't allowed to raise the hammer without your shirt off. So you'd get given the hammer, everyone would start a chant, take it off, and you'd have to do a little bit of a strip of just the shirt, and then you would raise the hammer and everyone would go crazy. So for our last game, we stood up, we took the hammer from Big Scotty and we gave it to him as the chant started, and there was nothing he could do about it. If he didn't want to get kicked out of there, he had to take the shirt off and raise the hammer to the roof. And that's where all the boys go crazy, and then we huddle up and we take a photo with the hammer.
It sounded like a pretty perfect ending to that, because you see that and our reaction is just what's going on here, but it seems really cool. But then you get a backstory and it's even cooler. But I was just is him taking the shirt off part of this gig, or is it just him living in the moment? Because, you guys literally started chanting, take it off. And I'm like, whatever you guys are into, it works. But good on you. It was just funny. I was like, what the hell? But I like it. I like it.
No, definitely. It's he was forced into that, but it is something that just naturally kind of progressed as the season went along. And we had some epic moments of guys flexing with this hammer and some awesome photos that we rallied around as a team throughout the season.
Very nice. I'm going to touch on your grand final MVP. I'm moving on to that because there's 2 things I like about this, but I'm always curious about speeches. Did you have something planned, or is that all off the top of your head? Because it was pretty smooth, I must say.
Thank you very much. No, I had one. It's funny.
Say it.
No, so I had one line planned, and it was funny because the NBL actually used the one line I had planned, which was it takes a village to raise a child, but it takes it took a whole state to make my dreams come true. So that was the only thing that I had written. I'd be writing, and then everything else was off the top. It was just, I kind of thought I was going to say something that I'd kind of planned, but the emotions were too high and I barely remember what I was saying up there. The brain was racing. It was so crazy. So that speech was definitely just winged from the jump. And then I was actually lucky enough to receive the club MVP. And then I got up there and I actually got to do a semi-planned speech that I wanted to do on the MVP one, but the finals MVP, but there's no way I had the emotional control and awareness to spill out anything smooth in that situation.
No, you spoke very well, because you said the thing about the skinny kid with slow feet, which was a line I liked. It's so funny in the arena. I can barely understand. You can barely understand compared to what the broadcast gets. Sometimes you just can't hear word for word of what people are saying unless you really focus. But I had to go back and listen to it, so that was great. I got to ask, you had to have known it was you, right? Were you standing in that line and you knew, when all the pre-speeches are happening, did you know it was you?
I would say I definitely was expecting it, but there's always that voice that's it could be Milton Doyle. Milton Doyle had an incredible season, series. He was steady. He probably led us in rebounds and assists, most likely. Milton Doyle was doing Milton Doyle things. I think my shot probably took a bit of the limelight of how kind of steady he was throughout the 5 games. But, I was definitely, I wouldn't say I was expecting it, but I was like, holy crap, I think I'm probably about to win this finals MVP, and that's bloody crazy.
Confident. No, you could have been. It leads nicely. speaking of confidence, I shared a post on this because I had to say it, but you pretty much predicted, or you said you'd win MVP. Now, I was kind of laughing to myself because you said it after the awards night, and you didn't specify whether it was like league MVP or grand final MVP. But in my mind, I was just like, you know what, this makes for a great story right now. I'm going to act like he was talking about grand final MVP. But yes, after the awards night, you did message just saying future MVP, and then like at the time, I was like, love it. But then when you actually go and do it, and I was just like, you know what, that's really cool. So I had to make it known to the public eye.
No, I appreciate it. I mean, it's been hard for me to articulate kind of this whole week or two. I've gone to sit down and like write about it a couple times and release like, you know, a blog post and do that. And it's been hard. I haven't really been able to find the words to articulate it. But one of it is like, it's been a weird mix of, I've always had this little voice inside me that says like, you are capable of achieving this. You are capable of being finals MVP, and you're capable of, you know, helping the JackJumpers win its first championship, and you're capable of doing this. But then that's always like, that voice is so small and squished by so much other stuff, you know, all the insecurities, all the self-doubt, you know, all the fails and the setbacks that you like, it's hard to hear sometimes. So it's been a weird, like, holy crap, I actually did this. Like, this is crazy. But then there's also this little voice that says, yeah, but you always were chasing it and you always kind of knew you could. And so, like, being able to articulate that in a well kind of written article is really hard. And that's why I've been excited for this little podcast because, you know, it's been a weird couple of weeks and definitely a weird life experience kind of achieving these goals that you've worked so long to achieve.
I imagine it would be. And it would be hard as well when you're, like, obviously we're doing it now and it's a different environment, but when you're asked almost so many times after it what it means and whatever, like you'd probably, I assume you'd almost go back to, it's almost like you're rehearsing lines in your head, well, you're just saying the same things over and over again, and you probably cloud your mind with what it actually feels like in a way. I assume that must be what it's like when everyone's just like, how'd it feel? You're like, I don't know. Great. How else? I don't know. Amazing.
No, you're actually on the money. You definitely get into a repeat of what you're saying. And it's definitely hard to articulate that feeling of kind of the whole 3-year JackJumper journey really leading to that and kind of, you know, what it feels like. Because there's so many emotions. There's like, you know, there's another emotion of me. Just, I get the Olympic squad stuff. And then there's, you know, it's right on to the next goal. You know, it's straight back to work. It's like, let me get back to doing what I love doing, and that's trying to get better at basketball. And so it's like, you know, I enjoyed it for a week, kind of. There's also been like, for me, this team was the funnest team I've ever been a part of. Like, we had so much fun together, not just playing, which I think it was obvious when we were playing, we're having fun, but off court, the jokes, the car rides, the dinners, that it's definitely taken a couple of days. Like, it just finishes, you know? So it finishes. You have this kind of like some drinks on Sunday, like after the game, but all family are there. People split up. You kind of have this Wednesday together, which is awesome, a day full of the team. But then you don't get a proper recap. We didn't even get to say goodbye to each other because the Friday night MVP was chaos. There's so many people there, people asking for photos and stuff like that. So it was chaos. So we didn't even so you don't even really get to say goodbye to guys. And so it's been left this bit of like, damn, I'm like kind of just sad it's over. I'm kind of, you know, this like, you feel this weight of like, damn, like, I don't know when I'm going to see that person next, like, or I'm going to miss just showing up and doing what we do every day. So the emotions are definitely a roller coaster of the whole thing.
That just shows how much you enjoy the people you're around as well. If you already, like, if you just won a championship, I imagine some guys are just like, I don't want to see these guys. Like, well, let me just celebrate kind of thing. But you're always just like, oh, I'm a bit sad I don't get to see like Majuk for a few weeks or days. Or it's kind of cool, actually. I remember it reminds me of, I'm pretty sure that one of the first things you said to me this season, it might have been the Blitz or something. I remember like it quite distinctly. You just came up to me and you're just like, we've got a good team this season, man, or something. Like, you were just like so casual about it, but it was literally the first thing you said. It was just like, hey, how are you? And then you're just like, you know what? We've got a pretty good squad. So that leads me nicely into like, what what was special about this group? Like, you clearly enjoy being around the guys, and you just said it's as much fun as you've had. But can you put it into words, or is it just one of those tight knit groups? You got each other. that type of stuff?
Well, I'll definitely say early on in the season, one, we've continued to have a lot of guys return. Like obviously, we couldn't have won this chip without so many guys that laid that foundation. Sammy Mack, Matt Kenyon, Isaac White, Josh Majette, Rashad Kelly, Mikhail McIntosh, like so many dudes that have played a role in building what we do. We have a team rule that when we arrive to the gym or the first thing we do in the day, you have to high five everyone in the building. You have to go around individually and high five everyone. And that rule has never been broken by anyone for 3 years. And Mikhail McIntosh started that day one of the Jack Jumpers. And so there's so many factors that go into this winning. But then with this group this year, I think it was definitely the most offensively talented team we've had out of the Jack Jumpers here. So we really sat down in training. We're like, we've got some talent to back us up. When you look at our team this year, we got a lot of starters. We got Drim coming in as a starter. You got Majuk Dang, who was a starter for 4 years in Cairns, averaged 14 points a game. So we brought in these pieces that kind of definitely gave us that little bit more firepower. Marcus Lee, Mags was healthy. And so when we were playing this year, we definitely had a sense of, we're tough. Like we want to be that defensive minded team, but we can go the other way too. And so with that came definitely a different type of pressure this year, because early on the championship talk started. We're talking preseason. Guys would look at each other and go, holy shit, like we're good enough to win a championship this year. And so that has its positives and it has its negatives. Our pros we were holding each other to a championship accountability. The negatives, when we were struggling in the middle of the season, we got to remember we were sitting 12-12 with only a couple of weeks to go. And Melbourne United came in to play us at home and we needed that win. And the pressure definitely felt more and heavier on us because there's this don't waste this opportunity kind of feeling in the back. So I think the talent, 2, we just got along like fireworks. And then 3, like the foundation had been laid where it was strong. We knew what we were about. Guys stepped into preseason quick and it was flowing. There was no learning in terms of like, this is, hey, whoa, we don't do that here. This is what we do. Because all of that was built in. Like it's so obvious. It's so strong. And so I would say those 3 things are probably right now. I've been trying to write about this. It's definitely easier to talk about it, but I would say probably the continued foundation, just the talent, and then how much we love being around each other.
We'll just transcribe this whole episode and you can just chuck it in a book.
Yeah, exactly.
I think almost my favorite thing about what you said then was Mikhail McIntosh starting that high five thing, because like if you asked anyone, they'd be like, oh, well, someone that was there like yourself from day dot or someone who was stuck around type of thing. But really cool to see traditions like that outlast. And while you were mentioning all those players, it reminded me, I didn't even have this jotted down, but I was thinking of it. I don't know if players see this stuff, but at the start of the season when Jordan Crawford comes into the league and people research, there's all these online people talking. There's like all this chatter about him not being a winning player. Like they looked into his records, they looked into all that, and they were just like, oh, he doesn't seem to have a big winning record. And then he obviously struggled in this series to begin with. But then I did not realize he had 27 or 28 at the half. I was like, what the hell? I thought it was like 15 or 12 or something. But he went nuts. You wouldn't have won the game or championship without him. It was just one of those really cool moments where it was just like, nah, take that. Like I am a winning player. Like I don't care what my previous records say. Like I played a huge part in the championship, and there was so many cool elements of you guys winning that. But just little things like that where you can sit back and appreciate people like him. Super cool. I enjoyed that.
No, definitely. I mean, shout out to JC. I mean, listen, this NBL series, particularly the grand final, was world-class basketball. You got, Delhi stepping over the line for Shea Ely, some of the great defenders coming at you. You got Ian Clark coming off the bench. Like that guard battle from both ends was one to watch forever. And he came out in game 5 when we needed him, and we would have lost by 40. And he cooked in for, I think, 27 at half and ended the game with 32. And, carried us to a championship in the biggest game of all of our careers.
It's wild. You know what else is wild? As good as that series was, because I was going to touch on, it was literally like an elite series. But how do 3 games come down with, 3 games came down to half-court shots, and 3 games essentially, I'm pretty sure it was the same. 3 games came down to turning the ball over while inbounding. I'm like, it was so wild to look back at it. I'm like, how does one game, let alone two in a row come down to half court shots with the same turnover sequence. But I don't know what you guys are doing on day one on training camp, but maybe both you and Melbourne should just be like inbound plays, chuck it over, get it in the hands of someone.
But it definitely was interesting because there was a lot of games where there was big moments like that. We had the Melbourne Illawarra series, came down to an epic turnover too. And something about the ref said, hey, we're going to let them play. Gets a bit more physical. It's hard to throw that ball in from the sideline when there's an extra defender kind of guarding it. So it is kind of like a 5-on-4. But yeah, 3 of them came down to that same shot. Thank goodness I made one of them.
that shot's been set. It's been really cool, like the effects that a shot like yours has, because I've had people that don't even know like basketball or do know basketball, they bring that up, and it just it does so much for the game itself and basketball. I was trying on wedding suits the other day, and the guy scrolling, I had like inspiration on my phone of what wedding suits, and I had one of your photos up of like what I took, and he accidentally scrolled to that one, and like he was just straight away just like, oh, amazing shot, by the way. And just little comments like that. I'm just like, it's kind of received around the world on the Australia. So super cool. I just wanted to touch on a few quick things before we stop talking about the championship, because, you know, we could talk for hours. But I really like Chris Golding's speech, how he touched on family and Brad Neely. That was super cool. Just like how emotional and how much family and everyone's sacrifice means. And just shout out to Melbourne too. Like the series wouldn't have been as epic as it was without those guys. So got to give love to them. What else did I have? Oh, I just wanted to, the raw emotion on the day, just amazing. Like you almost can't beat that. From my perspective, from your guys' perspective, from everyone's perspective, like it's what we do all this for. Yeah, super cool stuff.
Yeah, no, definitely. Your video that you released on Two Creatives was an epic video. The slow-mo, a lot of captures. Majuk Dang's just a beautiful human to film, isn't he? And it's just, you're right. Shout out to Melbourne. I mean, what a battle. Just two great clubs. I had the privilege 2 nights ago of sitting down on a phone call for 10 minutes with Jacob Chance, who I know would have had so many emotions throughout that. But we talked about it. It was like, you had the talent, you had the athleticism, you had great coaching, you had great culture of clubs. There was just so many things that go into making it such an incredible series. And we're just, it's still in a bit of disbelief that we actually managed to pull it off. And an incredible series. And shout out to Melbourne and Chris Goulding's unbelievable shot making ability.
It was just when that went in, and then when Daly's half court almost went in, I'm like, goodness me. Do you want to touch on anything else before during the season, or just jump onto? I was going to ask about some off-season stuff.
Take it away. If anyone has any questions, I'm trying to get around to more people, but definitely shoot them in the Shooters Pod, and we'll break down some more questions as the off-season goes along for sure.
Yes, I agree. What does the off-season look like for you after all that? You've already touched on it, but I assume we're not going to Europe. I assume we haven't gotten to that ticket hasn't gotten lost to me. So was it last year? Jeez, that feels like ages ago. Last year we were in Europe. This year we're not. What are you doing?
Yes. So Europe was still an option for me. I shut it down. I wanted to get home with Beth. 3 years long distance, unhealthy. And, this was officially kind of the ending of it. So I was rushing home to Beth, and now it's just preparing for this Olympics and hopefully preparing for that kind of camp and trying to give that a go. So I'm based out of Adelaide. I've started light lifting this week. Next week will be I'll spend just about 3 to 4 hours in the weight room a day. So they'll be doing different things from like learning how to move better, like weights, footwork, the whole shebang. And then the week after that, we jump into kind of full basketball, get after it, 7 days a week, prepare for my wedding and the Boomers camp.
True. How is the wedding going, by the way? Because we've done all kinds of things lately. Wedding cake tasting, wedding suit, trying on, all that stuff. How's yours going?
Mine's going well. Wedding suit is done and dusted.
Okay.
Got it here right next to me. We sat down and did some wedding stuff today, just going over some food, some small things, heaters, stuff like that. But it's looking pretty good, and we're ready to roll.
Jeez, you're laughing. We are sort of laughing. We're on track, is what I've had a few people ask me how we're going. I'm just like, let's just say we're on track. We're not in the red zone yet. So, no, it's good. It should be good. Hype someone up. I just want to hype someone up. Go on a bit of a rant. Anyone that's caught our attention, just give him some love.
Well, my hype up this week, I'm going to keep it basketball related. And he's gotten a couple of hype ups. But kind of a missed story of what happened in Game 5 was Will Magnay playing on a torn hamstring. So he's out, a little bit. He a little bit of time, but not too bad. But that shoe slipped. Yeah. Hamstring went ping, and he struggled those first 3 quarters, playing in pain, and in that fourth quarter he had some crazy blocks, some crazy dunks, and kind of put it all together to help us win that thing. But a lot of heroes, but I'm just shout out to Mags, hyping up kind of him today, because that's an untold story that JC's incredible performance has kind of taken away.
That's a good shout. As soon as you did the splits in quarter 1, I'm like, oh no, get ready to play like 40 minutes Majukdang and 20 Fab and 30 even, whatever. I've got 2 hype ups. That's pretty exciting. Firstly, shout out to the women's NCAA tournament, because those, I feel like a lot of the time women's basketball gets underappreciated, and they were everywhere. Like Caitlin Clark going to kill it in the WNBA, almost just change the game. So I think they had 18.7 million viewers on their last, the championship game. Very cool to see all the spotlight and attention goes to the women's game, even though it's not about women versus men, but it's just the fact that it just often gets underappreciated. So I thought I'd shout that out. But bringing it back to the championship, Liam Santamaria, I'm sure everyone knows him. He shared a pretty damn cool story about his son. It will make sense in a while, but he was just he randomly messaged me. He's like, hey, how are you doing? And then he went on to tell this story about his son injuring himself at school. And it sounded pretty bad. He was waiting for the ambulance. He got taken to hospital, all that. But there was a cool part of it, which is the reason why he was messaging me. He wasn't just saying, hey, my son's in hospital. How are you doing? Which would have been interesting. But the son injured himself and apparently was lying there at school without any pain medication for over an hour. And it was a pretty bad injury. So Liam and his wife, Jess, said to the son, how do you remain so calm? And his answer, and I quote, was, I thought about Jack McVeigh and how he smiles during free throws and how he stays calm. I tried to be like Jack McVeigh and smile. I'm like, that is so wholesome. I really enjoyed that.
It's a crazy story. He called me up and told me too.
Oh, and beautiful.
It's crazy because you do forget, the game's big, but there's always stuff bigger. And this silly kid, Jack McVeigh, with a smile on his face on the free throw line, is helping kids out there. I got to jump on a phone with him the other day and had a chat with him at the moment, and broke his arm bad, really bad, and had to lay there for a couple hours. And it's crazy, crazy just the effect that we have sometimes when we don't even realize.
And just such a small thing as well. You do that to make yourself calm, and you do that as just a routine in general. But little kids are like, I'm going to do that. So I found that super cool. My grateful for is completely different, but I'll let you go first.
Wow, this is a negative space. I'm just going to start chucking up random things I'm grateful for. This is incredible. This is the best grateful for I've ever heard.
My grateful for this week is for Darren. We had another hell of a season of content. And we're talking about Shooters Podcast here, not about all the other content he does. But he's, I tell you what, as a host, a co-host, we're going to go, and as a friend, the last couple of weeks have been a lot, and not a lot of people get it. I know that the people listening, some of you will get that statement, some of you won't. But Darren, you get it. You don't put extra pressure on me. I've been leaving him to dry for 2 weeks, and sometimes not replying to a text for 3 days because my phone's on airplane mode and I'm cuddling my missus for the first time in 9 months. But I just want to say I appreciate you for another great year of episodes, being a great friend, and I am a little disappointed that we're not holding hands somewhere in Europe, but maybe that will happen next year.
I appreciate that. No, it's cool to hear. It is a funny balance because there's one side of me that I'm 100% keen to do as many episodes as we can. I would have done an episode that night if I could.
Yeah.
I just want to, and not even that. I would have. It's actually hard in the moment of being there with you, which is super cool on the day when you win it. But then like, I don't, it's not about me kind of thing. Like, it's about you guys. And like, my brother was just like, oh, go up to him because he was there on the day, which was cool as well. But he's like, oh, go up so congratulate him. I'm like, no, like, oh, when he's ready, he'll find me or I'll find him. So it is a funny balance, even that, and then recording these episodes because I 100% want to do it. But then it's just like, how much media have you done? How much everything have you done? How much time do you have to just chill with Beth and chill with your family? So there's two sides of it, and I'm always gonna. And you're the same. You said the same to me as well. Like when schedules don't line up, like family and stuff is important, and life gets in the way. Sometimes you're just in a shit mood, and you don't want to jump on and record an episode, so you don't. It's as simple as that. So I'm glad we both get that.
No, for sure. Hey, and we did end up crossing paths, and we ended up getting a cool, epic photo together.
It's true. Nick Marshall, shout out on the camera. He was just like, do I just push this thing? I'm like, just push it. It'll work.
Yeah.
Completely different realm. It has been Easter. I'm very grateful for Easter egg chocolate because I can't control myself. I literally cannot contain my, I don't know, and I've got a certain way to do it. Like the little eggs are great, but if you have big bunnies, break it open, chuck it in a container, chuck that thing in the fridge, and it's game over. I can't stop. It's quite bad, but it's delicious.
Why are they just so much better than regular chocolate? I'm telling you, I had a full bag of mini eggs and then those like half eggs just waiting for the series to be done because Easter egg chocolate just hits different.
I think it's like the mental stuff as well because it's like it's there, so you have to eat it. It's not like a choice. If someone buys it for you, you have to eat it. That's how I talk to myself anyway. So
it's good.
This episode has been taken in different directions, but championship and Easter egg chocolate, that's about it. I think we've done well here.
That's incredible. This has been my favorite episode ever, the championship episode. Darren, have you got any ideas of how you would like to approach this off season with the podcast?
I'm just keen to keep catching up. As we always say, that's a real bailout answer, but it's true. We can try some more guests. We can try some. We'll discuss how we want to do it, but it's pretty. I don't know. It's fun because the off season is just like the world's your oyster. You can take some time off. You can keep doing it. You can do more. Who knows? So I don't know. But what about you? What are you looking forward to?
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to us continuing to catching up, getting some guests on. We'd love to break into the WNBL. I think we rotate through most of the JackJumpers because I know a lot of them are starting to give me crap for not being on the podcast yet. So there's definitely a little line there that I got to knock over and get on this bad boy.
Do it like a round table, just like week in, week out, just get them on. That'll be cool. And free agency, of course. There's been some big ones, and I have heard on the rumblings some even bigger ones that will happen shortly. So I can't say anything, but some of the stuff you hear is pretty exciting. I'm sure Jack has heard some stuff as well, but free agency is a fun time. So we can talk about everything that goes down. There's already been stuff that's happened, like Sobe to Phoenix, JLA apparently not coming back, well, to Melbourne anyway, CG extending, all that stuff. So I'm really having my promo voice on right now, like talking about all the big things coming up in the NBL, but I guess I'm doing my job, right?
I think that was a perfect way to end this episode. You've improved out of the world. That was a perfect way. There's nothing better. There's no better way. There's no better way. I'm speechless. You got me, and that's rare. That's hard to do.
You spoke better in front of thousands of people on the grand final MVP speech, and just us, you're like, I don't know what to say. Oh, lastly, Jordan McCallum from Twitter asked if you still listen to the exact same song pre-game, Honest by Future. Do you still do that? Is that the same? Is that the right song?
Yeah, Blood, Sweat and Tears by Future. But it will be, I would say most of the time, yeah. I would say I only have one real tradition right now. I do have a cold shower with that song, I'd say 80% of the time. And then my only tradition is I put on a song and do a little dance for Beth. So
Okay.
it's just a nice little random, and it's the same dance. Now she has to do it for me before her games. And so it's like, a little freestyle. It's like a 40-second kind of like dance routine. So I've got that going for about the last 2 seasons. Not many people know about it. This is some secret sauce to the success right here, do a little dance before the game.
I hope Beth is fine with you spreading the secrets. That dance, the Scott Roth dance. Anyway, we'll move on. We'll wrap up. This has been fun. And I just want to say a big old congratulations to you. Once again, we can call it the end of congratulating you because you're probably sick of it. And you're probably just like, you know what? I have more goals. So, but it's been super cool. Like you winning the championship as a team, topping it off with the grand final MVP. Like you were literally like the face of everything. You were, and you still are, the face of everything right now. So I'm sick of seeing your face for now. So we'll close this. But no, congrats again. It must feel super cool.
Hey, thank you very much, brother. I appreciate you, and I'm looking forward to us making many more episodes together.